California rental market used to be so hot that they could get away with, there's no fridge here. No, there's no stove here. You're gonna need to provide that when you move in, but you're still gonna pay $3,500 a month for a little 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and you're gonna love it because it's in neighborhood, whatever that might be. Well, in the ongoing effort for Newsom to basically push out all landlords, he signed a new bill. No fridge, no more. Newsom signs bill requiring apartment landlords to supply appliances. With all the crazy nonsense going on in California, this is what they're choosing to work on. Gonna make landlords put appliances in before they rent them out. Let's get into it. Here we go. Now, the end result here, I'm a little bit, I'm on both sides of this one. As a landlord, as a former landlord, I would always have a fridge in my house. I would always have a stove. Stove in Washington is pretty much, if you don't have a stove, it's like, hey, what's wrong? But a refrigerator, that used to be kind of optional. There's an actual place on the appraisal form to put P for any of the appliances, meaning they're personal property, meaning they're not affixed to the real estate. But most of the time, if you're a landlord, you don't want to see your tenants moving in their fridge in and out of the house because they're going to bash door frames. It may not fit the opening. They're going to bash the trim and molding. They're going to bash the drywall surrounding. They're just going to ruin a bunch of stuff. So most landlords that actually care about their properties, and a lot just don't. They're already going to have these appliances in place. But so much of this has to go down to what is traditional for the area. Well, no appliances, obviously, especially in Los Angeles. Appliances just, you got to bring your own. Bring your own washer and dryer, same thing. Now, when a home sells, oftentimes, if it's a washer and dryer, that's considered personal property. It's not affixed to the real estate. Fridge, same thing. And what they're trying to work out, the lender is trying to work out, is if those appliances are personal property and they're included with the sale, are they financing the purchase of those personal property appliances? And usually, back in the day, it used to have more of an impact when you had homes that were $100,000 or $50,000. Something like that. But now when you've got a, $1.2 million home and you're arguing over a $500 fridge, a $1,000 fridge, nobody cares anymore, right? Nobody cares anymore. But ultimately what this does here in California, it just lobs in one more reason where a landlord might say, F them. I'm going to sell my rental property. You can't tell me what I have to put in there for appliances. So you've essentially further shrunk the supply of rental property, causing your rent to go up or down when you shrink supply. Yeah, rent to the moon. This is one more libtard policy, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but not for the reasons given here, which is, we're protecting our tenants. You're throwing everything to the tenants, and you're already in a market where you've got massive supply side issues and you just don't have enough rental properties. And with things as expensive as they are, so many people are renting, and you are literally, with this kind of policy, creating a situation where nobody wants to be a landlord. Oh, you're going to tell me what kind of appliances I'm going to put in my home now? Go F yourself. I'm a mom and pop operator. I'm taking my properties off the market. I'm selling them. I'm cashing out. I'll show you. And then Newsom, hey, how come there's fewer rentals now? Oh, weird, right? I mean, not that hard to figure out. Same thing, and I'm going to read a couple of things on that. I've got one article on that, is Washington State and capping rent. Capping rent. All it does is signal to landlords, existing homeowners that have their property in the rental pool, that Washington State is no longer pro-property rights. Washington State is basically, hey, whatever is good for the tenant is good for the state from a law standpoint. And that doesn't necessarily work all that well when you've got a state that has a wildly undersupplied rental market. So, anywho, right? Days of Los Angeles landlords telling tenants, renters to bring their own fridge will soon be over. Governor Gavin Newsom signed a law on Monday requiring rental property owners to supply their tenants with a working refrigerator and stove. I don't really have a problem with that. Again, stove, you need to cook with that, right? And a fridge, you need a working fridge. That should be a given. But again, this is based on, what in the area, what in California used to be tradition. Hey, you didn't necessarily include a stove. People brought their own stove. People brought their own refrigerator. More than likely, the place already had a stove. The fridge might be optional. And you know what? People still take fridges out of homes being sold all day long. They just do. A lot of times, if you're making, moves out of state and you got to take a moving truck, you're not gonna want to carry your refrigerator to the next house. You're just going to buy a new one, or maybe the home that you end up occupying in the next place, it's already got one. So I'm going to take my fridge from home because it's worth a lot of money. Nah, it's used. It's not worth much. You're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Maybe, who knows? Assembly Bill 628 will apply statewide when it takes effect next year. But fridgeless apartments have long been a notorious feature of LA's rental market and less common in other cities. I think it's a West Coast thing, right? It's kind of tradition. Fridge, maybe. Los Angeles Times reported in 2022 that LA and Orange counties have the fewest units with refrigerators among large urban areas nationwide. What do they do a poll to get that? I mean, how does that work? Hey, you got fridges? Assemblymember Tina McConnor, a Democrat representing a district that includes Inglewood and Hawthorne, introduced the bill. California Rental Housing Association, a landlord advocacy group, opposed the legislation. Adam Pierce, the association's president, said in a statement, Bill 628 creates another costly and unnecessary mandate on housing providers at a time when operating costs are already skyrocketing, creating a situation where you've got a lot of landlords looking to sell their property in big blue liberal cities, big blue liberal states, because they know that the operating costs are only going to go one way, and it's not down. And it's because of policy after policy after policy. And while this one might seem kind of innocuous, like, well, how much is a fridge? All right, $1,500, $1,000, whatever. How much is a stove? Again, same thing, right? Not that big of a deal. But when you've got other expenses that have just, maybe your utilities have gone to the moon, cost of construction, cost of a new roof, materials, labor costs have gone to the moon. When you're already layering all of that on top, this might be one of those things where the landlord says, I'm done. Enough. I'm going to take my profits and I'm going to go home. I'm going to take my toys and I'm going to go home. Go after yourself, California. This is the layering on of nonsense where you create a situation where rents are incredibly high, and then people go, why isn't there more housing? Why is there a lack of affordable housing? We just need some more housing. And you see these policies being thrown in there all the time in these, progressive cities. And you're like, well, that's going to work out well. Let's come back 6 months from now and see if rents have dropped. See if the supply of housing is bigger or smaller than where we left it. Invariably, there's no ability in these big blue progressive cities to actually increase your supply of affordable housing because affordable housing does not exist. You got $1 million lot? $1 million lot? That's what a lot of Seattle is. Your lot is $1 million. Maybe it's 750. And then you start from there. You go from there. You're going to put another $1 million on top of it, build that structure, get a little 2-car garage, a little 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath townhome, 14 levels of stairways, and you got to turn a corner and go upstairs, and you get dizzy going up and down. You've all seen those homes. Maybe you haven't, but they're terrible. But that's because of density and, we just need some more affordable housing. Apartment hunters regularly take to social media to express their bafflement about LA's bring your own fridge units. That's not as shocking to me because the housing market here in Seattle has been so impacted by people coming from LA that it's whatever has been tradition in California is more than likely has found its way into the Seattle market as well, because we are literally just California light, where Seattle is San Francisco 2.0, right? And not necessarily in a better manner, not necessarily West Coast, Best Coast. TikTok user Ray 2XS206 recently posted a viral video where she toured an LA apartment asking $2,500 per month. She noted the unit had bars on the door and windows, a bathtub she described as tiny, and bedrooms she felt were the size of a peanut box. Is that not big? Is that not big? Let's take a look at that.
Apartment hunting in Los Angeles. This is probably the 7th apartment we looked at. It's a big old no. Do you see this? Well, not yet, but you're about to see it. Do you see this?
Yeah.
It doesn't even come with the oven or refrigerator. You'll see that in a second. They want $2,400 for this apartment.
It's about right.
5 actually.
Yeah.
So basically $2,500.
There's your fridge.
Bars on the front door should have been a dead giveaway. The bedrooms are the size of a peanut box.
Yeah. It's small, but that's not terrible.
That funny looking middle thing up the wall. There's babe.
It's power.
The bathroom.
It's standard. It's old school. Quit your bitching. It's small.
$24.95 for this Los Angeles apartment. Help y'all. I'm having a hard time finding a place, man.
What do you say? What do you say?
Day 8 of apartment hunting in LA. I got a lease for this other place, but in the lease, it's
Let's watch this one.
ACs. And the place doesn't have AC because it's an old building and it's surrounded by windows. So I was like, let me just see if there's another option that's better. So this is my last and final tour. This is just north of the Grove. It is so cute. It has everything that I want. Beautiful bay window in the living room. The kitchen is
fridge and stove.
It's a gas stove that looks brand new. The tiling is cute, enough countertop space, and it has an in-unit washer dryer, which is a huge plus. This one's $2,100, only water is included, but it has central air. Again, look how cute this kitchen is. Another thing that I started paying attention to is how many outlets it had, and this one definitely had plenty for all the appliances. Hardwood floors, it has crown molding, it has this cute little arch.
$2,100.
It's a bunch of cabinets
2-bedroom
for like towels and stuff, a closet right by the bathroom. It's a little small, but I can work with it. The bathroom is really cute. It has a shower. Beautiful. I love a good shower.
All right, enough of that. Let's go to this one. Cap on rent increases across Washington is signed into law. Governor Bob Ferguson signed the bill on Wednesday. It takes effect immediately and will not allow for hikes of more than 10% in a year. Now, this one here, I think it originally started off with like 7%. It's somewhere between 7 and caps out at 10 is the most that you can increase it by. Let's work that through. So day one, you got a lease at $2,500. Let's just throw that out there. So in a year, you can only pop at 10%, $250. So now you're at $2,750. And then you're going to go 10% on that because you can increase that. I mean, it doesn't take into account the market will not bear that type of increase. But what they're trying to do is limit a massive increase. After 4 or 5 years, you haven't done an increase. And hey, the market has gone from $2,000 to $4,000, which is not uncommon in the Pacific Northwest, in California, in Oregon. those types of rent jumps are not that uncommon because we don't have enough supply. And you got a ton of people coming in who might be working for Microsoft. They might be working for Amazon. They need a rental. They don't think their position is going to be secure enough to allow them to buy a home, let alone be able to afford a home. But then what this does, which is the exact same damn thing as hey, you got to put a stove and a fridge in your place, which I would say, put one in anyway, because you don't want these tenants organizing and putting these appliances in. You just don't. It's not going to be good for your unit. You're going to have to, fix all kinds of stuff that they've probably damaged because they don't treat it like their asset. They treat it like a rental, which they're absolutely being raped for, which is true from an economic standpoint. I'm getting this. This is what I'm getting. I'm like, yep, that's what you get. That's not very much. Welcome to West Coast, Best Coast. We got a little bit of an affordable housing issue, right? But this 10% bump, what that does is that signals to landlords, Washington State, no longer pro-business, Washington State. They're going to dictate to you what you can do with your property. And so if you have the option to invest in another state, you're probably going to go there. If you have the option to invest in another state that actually prohibits people from squatting in homes like Washington State does and doesn't mandate how much you can cap your own asset at from a rental income amount standpoint, you're going to go invest there. You're going to shut down what you've got in Washington State and you're going to go wherever that might be. And odds are it's going to be a Republican state. Because they are the ones that's where everybody's going. People are taking their money there. Jeff Bezos, and when I point over there, I'm pointing at West Bellevue. I'm pointing at Hunts Point, Euro Point, Evergreen Point. Gates lived over there. But Jeff Bezos sold his home for $63 million and went to Florida. Because he saved about $1 billion in taxes. And that's a whole nother thing, is these West Coast, Best Coast states have incredibly high taxes and incredibly high probate processes, right? You're going to pay some massive taxes if you die in Washington State, leave a bunch of stuff to your kids. Yeah, it's not going to be good. So Bezos literally saved about $1 billion is what they figure by no longer being a Washington State resident. Being a Florida State resident, gone from very blue to red, right? To red. And that's why you're seeing so many people move to Texas, move to Florida, move to Oklahoma. Oklahoma is emerging as one of the red, it's already the reddest state, but it's emerging as a stark contrast to the absolute lunacy that California has put their constituents through. But you also got to say the constituents voted for a lot of this nonsense and that Oregon's done the same thing. And now Washington, you got a rent increase. It just signals to investors and anybody in real estate, Washington isn't where you want to invest anymore. That's what this dictates. This sends that signal because nobody year in, year out is going to increase their rent by 10% or even 7%. Because there's years where it might go down a little bit. That's not been the case recently, but it does happen, right? Great Recession, we had rents decline, but then nobody could afford a home because nobody had the ability to get financing, and rents kind of took off after that that period, worked its way through all the short sales and all the foreclosures and all that just hideousness. And then a bunch of massive corporations bought up tons and tons and tons of rentals. And then we've not built enough housing to work our way out of the Great Recession. Hence, shortage of housing, rents to the moon, policies like what California is enacting now, policies like what Washington State is enacting now, create a situation where, yep, rents to the moon. Not that hard to figure out. Not that hard to figure out. But what's super interesting is all these politicians that are like, we're going to really work to protect you, the consumer, from big rent increases. And all you effectively do is further squeeze the supply and cause them to have, you got it, higher rent as an end result. It's policy. And the folks that put this stuff in place, they're so short-sighted. They're so short-sighted, they can't see the big picture. Plus, most of them don't really have any notion of economics or the way that an open market would work. Because like Mondami in New York City, he wants to have state-run grocery stores, which we know doesn't work out. Those are being closed in cities across the United States right now. I read about those all the time. It's because they're getting robbed blind from their own constituents, and the economics don't make sense, and the city ends up losing millions and millions and millions of dollars. But hey, it's a great communist idea. Democrat Socialists of America. Let's throw that one out there, and we'll just see what a government-run store, we'll just see how the liberal utopia of Democrat Socialists of America is going to work in reality. If Mondami wins in New York City, that's going to be interesting. He's not going to get most of his policies through. He's not. He's just not. I don't think, in my opinion. But he's going to take things further left. And that's where you got to kind of, how's that going to go? Well, for me, it goes podcast for days, weeks, months, years. Make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell, share with family and friends. That's the best way to get it out there. And I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again for being here. We'll catch up then.